Welcome to the intersection of technology, cybersecurity, and society. Welcome to ITSP Magazine. Knowledge is power, now more than ever.
Marco.
Sean, I hope you don't mind that I just sneaked in this conversation.
You're crashing the party, man.
Can I stay?
You can
I wouldn't
stay.
have it any other way.
You can stay.
Glad to be here.
This is a FOMO NOMO conversation.
Nice.
We're going to get the scoop as if we were there of what happened at DEF CON.
You're always there in spirit, you
That's
know?
right. That's right. We were certainly there in spirit. We did a lot of coverage of Black Hat and DEF CON and other things from Hacker Summer Camp, as you know. And you actually had probably the coolest spot in the house.
Did I?
On stage, you, Kirsten Renner, on stage, DC101 at DEF CON. Super cool. We're going to talk a bit about that, of course, and other things, because it seemed like it was an eventful few days with lots of planned and unplanned activities. Taking place.
How to do it, right?
That's right.
Got to keep those goons on their toes, right?
Standard fare, I think. Standard fare. So, of course, for those listening, this is Sean Martin, the host of ITSP Magazine's Redefining CyberSecurity podcast, and I have the pleasure of Marco crashing the party to join me for this conversation, and I'd like to welcome Kirsten Renner on to the show. Kirsten, you've been on before. Many folks, I'm sure, know of you, heard our conversations in the past. I'll link to one that we had a few years back when we were still remote, covering DEF CON and the villages. So I'll put a link to that conversation because it's a nice overview of what you do at the village, the car hacking village. But for those listening, if anew now, a few words about what you're up to, who you are, what you care about. And we'll start with that first, I guess.
What I care about is that my dogs...
Well, no, who you are first. And then
sure. Okay, I'm Kirsten Renner. My handle's not clever. It's just Krenner. I was gifted some other names previously. They just didn't stick, sadly, but Renner it is. I'm known for in the community for speaking and volunteering at a lot of different conferences throughout the year. Typically, I'll be in a hiring village or doing resume reviews, coaching, speaking, things like that all throughout the year. And it's been increasing more and more. I've moved sort of out of recruiting and into talent engagement, which is just all about doing, the coolest part of my job over the years. And I was part of the founding and standing up of the Car Hacking Village in 2015 and have been doing that for 9 years. So I was invited this year. It feels still like a dream, but I think it's real to be on the welcome panel with DT and Nikita and Nijo and a few others. And so that was very exciting and like a dream. And some funny things happened during my part of that, and I got interrupted by some alarms, and so as I was going, I kept missing my hooks, right? Like I would say something like, here's the lead up to the point I'm about to make, and then a bell would occur, and I was massively distracted by that. It was like ADHD to begin with, right? So it was like squirrel, what was I saying? And I never made a lot of my points. In fact, at one point I mentioned Katie Masoris's name, and the funny thing I was going to do is I'm going to back up to a little tiny bit. So the first thing I was saying was at my first ever DEF CON, didn't know what I was doing, didn't know what was going on, was like reading hacking books on the plane on the way and did some research. And somehow I ended up, and I literally read Art of Intrusion, and I didn't know what the hell I was doing. So this was like 15 years ago. And somehow I end up in on the 30th floor of the Rio. You guys know where I am at that point. I don't know where I am. I don't know whose room I'm in. I don't know what's going on. And there's like a demo happening. It was cool that I ended up there, and I see some people that look familiar. So I'm just like, maybe I'm supposed to recruit them or something. They must be important. I'm just going to walk right up to them and say, "Hi, I'm Kirsten. You look familiar." And it was Dark Tangent talking to Dan Kaminsky, and they handled it like champs. They were like, "Cool, good." You know, they weren't mean, but then my point to the whole audience, because like I said, hey, raise your hand if this is your first DEF CON, and there must have been 500 people that were raised. It was amazing. It was exciting. And then my next, that was my hook, and I was going to say, don't do that. If you see someone that you're excited to meet, don't interrupt them when they're talking. Um, Here's some simple tips for rules of engagement. I'm not speaking on behalf of anybody. They're not the rules. But in my opinion, when you're excited to meet someone, make eye contact, wave, invite them at that point with your gesture to engage as is appropriate for them in that moment. They're busy, they're generous with their time, they're on their way to something. If they can, they will speak to you. And if they cannot, that's okay. Give them another shot at another point. Was all the words I just said, I never got a chance to say. So.
Well, I think another point I'll add to that is don't be afraid. I think most of the folks at DEF CON are open to engaging and talking. And if one delays, puts it off, doesn't have that interaction, you might not have the chance. Dan Kaminsky, God rest his soul.
Yeah.
You had that opportunity to meet him. It's not
He would
always
never
not
pass
always
up a hug, would he?
exactly.
You were getting a hug, yeah.
Exactly.
Jason will hug you, yeah.
Yep.
But just remember that they're humans, right?
Exactly.
And if they're on their way to something, maybe they're tired too. Just that they are very generous humans, and that they will give so much of themselves. So again, just like you said, don't pass up the opportunity, but give it another shot.
Yep.
Especially when it comes to hugs, right? Just
Exactly.
go like this.
Exactly.
And that you just put out an invite, and then they can respond however they respond, and maybe you'll get a little fist bump, or maybe they'll go like that, or whatever's going to happen is going to happen in that moment, and to not take it personal, and and to meet as many people. I did say, and this is true, that you never know in the hallway, in a village, wherever you are, you might meet the next person you're going to hire. You might meet your next CEO. It's happened to me twice. So engage with everybody. A lot of really valuable.
I might meet you.
Look at my hair.
Look at that.
Oh, that's amazing.
Look at Sean hair.
Look
That's
at my
not
hair.
your hair.
My hair was purple.
Can you even call it hair? I don't know what that is.
Solid.
I'd like to focus rather on the hair than more on.
Can I do the description for people listening to the podcast? That'll be my job right now.
Oh boy, go for it.
So I'm gonna go back. What is it, like, Sean? 2018.
This is 2018.
Yep.
DEF CON 26.
Okay.
Yeah, Kristen and Sean with a badge from the car hacking village.
There you go.
And some funny hair. Yeah, definitely some funny hair. I would
talking about me, I'm sure.
No, I think we both look fantastic.
I think so. And a funny hair for you, Kristen, is kind of like mad scientist. May I say that? In a very, very cool way. Very cool way. So for people listening to the podcast, just jump on YouTube later and check it out.
Yeah. Or don't.
Or just
do it.
Take our word for it. Yeah.
That's right.
Hair was purple. Wow.
Speaking of so while we're in the mood of sharing pictures, here's the panel on the stage that you were on there, Kirsten. So pretty cool with the whole lineup of crew there. And I mean, it's an honor for anybody who knows. It's an honor to have a seat on that stage and have a chance to stand at the podium.
It was.
Can you describe that? That I don't know, that the feeling, the experience you had.
It was definitely a dream come true. I was honored when I was invited. It's incredible. I spent a lot of time, like obsessed with don't miss this don't screw up this opportunity. Like what really important, impactful thing are you going to say? How are you going to make a difference? How are you going to be helpful? And like I said, I was super excited that when we were in the green room going through it, that Nikita was like, "You're a vibe. It's going to be great." So it like lifted all of the stress away. And when I walked in, I was like, are there really 1,000 seats in there? Are there really 1,000 people? I've spoken a lot, but maybe to, a tenth of that size of people. But when she said those words to me, it meant a lot. I actually skipped. I didn't walk. I skipped up the ramp to the stage and was just totally relaxed. And then I look in the front row. I can't see the rest of the people because of the lights on my face. You know what I mean? So I know they're there, but I can't see them. And the entire front row was basically my friends and my son, one of my sons. So it was just like I was looking down at them, speaking to them, and like when Q&A at the end, I was going like this to see the people, but you couldn't really see them. So I was like, no, now I know I can do this again.
That's right.
And everyone was genuinely just everyone was interested. Everybody was, nobody was rude, because you're like, is anybody going to heckle me? What's going to happen? It was amazing. It was amazing. I loved it. I was even, God, DT is Jeff Moss is so approachable. He's so chill. He's so funny and nice and smart. He just would, when we're sitting next to each other, he'd just look over and he'd say something funny. And I was like, oh my God, how is this happening? How is this real? So it was amazing. That's how I describe the experience.
It's really cool. But so what happened is that there is this alarm going on, and this is something before we start recording it. It almost looked like it was staged, that you were getting points. I want you to go there.
Okay.
It was really funny.
Yeah.
It sounds like a video game, and I'm like, maybe they should do that for real.
They should. I'll tell you what, if they invite me to do this again, I have this funny feeling that they're going to be like, we have to ding the bell while Kirsten's up there. It was like, it really was like, ding. And I thought, I just must have said a secret word, like cyber, and everyone's going to take a shot, and I was trying to think roll it back in my head really quickly. Like, what did I say but I didn't say anything. I just sort of tried to regroup at this point. The ADHD part of me has no idea what I had already said, because at this point I had rehearsed it 1,000 times. Failed to take my notes out. By the way, everyone else was smart and had their notes and had them in front of them. Didn't do that. So I just start saying something else, right? I just start because I mentioned Katie and Jason as people who you would be examples of people that you've heard of, that you really want to speak to them when you see them. But then I never say what to do. I go, so if you see people like that, and then I just don't say anything else. So everybody's like, what do I do? What do I do when I see them? You'll never know unless you watch this podcast.
You know that there's a ding coming at some point. That's what you know.
Right. So talking about ding, so a couple of days ago, I dinged my messages in LinkedIn. It was you, and say, hey, this is kind of what happened. Really quickly, message like, how's it going? I can't believe I didn't see you at DEF CON. And so I'd like to get the opportunity to make this point, to share what I was supposed to share. I'm like,
right.
I'm sure that Sean's going to be very happy to do this. So, now I don't have sound effect here, although I could do something with a bottle, but I'll do the ding.
There you go.
So we want to know what is that you couldn't tell there,
Sure. So I have to at least tell you this. So when the first ding happened, I said nothing, but I peeked over at Nikita and Jeff, thinking that they know what's happening, and they're kind of definitely whispering to each other and looking at their phones. So now I think no one knows what's going on. So I just start talking. I'm good. And this slide was behind me. I could have looked at it to help myself out, but I didn't. So I start talking again. And I remember I'm supposed to talk about villages. I'm supposed to like peel back the curtain and help people understand, all the things that it takes to put a village together that you may not have been thinking of while you're having your experience. You can enhance your experience by being understanding. And if something goes wrong, because something will, you can be patient, you can offer to help, and how that can lead to building relationships is what I intended to say. So I start talking again, and guess what, guys? There's 2 more ding incidences. It dings, and I say at this point, and I got a little chuckle out of the audience. I go, I think I'm getting points. And then, and people are like, tee hee, and then I start to say, hey, you have to have a theme, you have to have design a logo, you have to have badges and swag and plan a party and get sponsors and shirts and volunteers and paperwork and on and on and on. You need equipment and you need all these things. And my point in saying all that is if you realize that the village is merely a 50th of an entire conference, if that, whatever the appropriate fraction is, think about that when you think of, all the work like that Nikita does to put on this massive thing. But before I can say that, now it goes mental. It goes ding, 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 and a recording comes on and it's going, there's a security incident and we are investigating it, but it's a recording and it keeps playing. And now I really don't know what to do. I'm like, we're about to evacuate. We are about to evacuate the building while I'm on the stage. My dream come true turns into like, we're going to have to leave. So I just go, have a great conference. And then I think it's over. And I think you guys saw, or you may have seen, the SRT was that they're amazing, by the way. They're patient and they were kind and they were cool. This wasn't when the dog sniffed the bomb. We don't know what happened while I was talking, but the bomb thing was the next day. So,
Multiple side events.
Indeed, yeah.
Yes.
But and I think we've talked about this before. I really do want anyone attending a conference, not just to know that they might be meeting someone really important, learning a ton of really valuable information about, things that are impactful and affect all of us, whether it's cars or aerospace or IoT or biometrics or voting villages. It's all the research being done and all the content being provided on the backs of many volunteers and so forth. It's important. You can be a part of it. And when I started this, somebody might have looked at me and said, "You're not even a hacker. What are you doing here?" Right? I feel like a hacker now. You know, um, I feel like I belong, and you're made to feel like you belong. So I just want anyone to know whatever place you're coming from. I've never seen a community more inviting and welcoming to everyone. You're not going to feel like you don't belong. So don't, shut down those voices. You may not hack on a keyboard, but you're doing something to change a system, to change a process, to change an outlook, to change a perception, right? So we're all hacking all the things. So I definitely want people to
We've
know
seen
that.
hacking policy hackers walk through DEF CON in the villages,
Indeed.
changing laws and regulations and again perceptions there too, right?
Exactly.
And
Exactly.
educating.
Exactly.
So I think it's important to get a few words from you about the car hacking village. I don't know, any highlights you want to share? I remember from a few years back there was a Tesla that just got pummeled and bashed
You know,
and hacked.
what's funny about that Tesla that year is it was the grand prize for the CTF, and the winners were allowed to choose either to take the car that technically we didn't hurt the engine, right? So we dropped a bowling ball on it and we spray painted it, and somebody used a hacksaw, get it, and sawed into it. You would roll the die and you would do whatever it tells you to do. I'm surprised you didn't put up the picture of me sitting on what was left of that car, but
I didn't have that handy. I'll
you
have
don't
to look
have that
at
handy?
it.
Okay. Um, but they had a choice between the vehicle, which truly was functional completely as a vehicle. It just had some interesting cosmetic things that occurred. They chose the vehicle rather than the cash. And I would have done the same thing, right? They had fun. They turned it into a journey going home. Um, We did have another Tesla this year, a different Tesla, a Tesla Y. We did not do anything bad to it. Highlights. The badge was amazing this year. It's right behind me. Hey, did you guys see it?
I did not see it.
Our theme was Back to the Future. I shall go get the badge for you.
Yes,
it's right behind me.
do that. Do that.
It's like I wish I had batteries in it. All right, I got a lot of cool SAOs on here too. By the way, somebody that was new to DEF CON didn't know what SAO stood
I was just going to say, explain that for folks.
Oh, can I say bad words? It's just a shitty add-on. So, and they came over and something went wrong with their SAO, and they said, "Hey, my shitty add-on fell off," and the person didn't know that that's what it's called, and they were like, "It's not shitty, it's great." And so we were like, "No, no, no, it's okay, it's okay." But so the theme was Back to the Future. So we've got a little flux capacitor here. We got a little DeLorean here as well.
There we go.
It's amazing. It'd be even cooler if I had batteries in it at the moment, but you wouldn't download a car, would you?
No, not a car.
So
very cool.
There's a video that I will I'll link in here for you, all about the badge and what it can do, and about the makers and everything. So we were excited to build our own badge this year. And
so I don't know if I'm asking you something that you don't know, but this whole badge challenge story, because I mean, Aerospace Village, they always have amazing ones. Space Shuttle, by the way, Steve, you still owe me one from last year. You promised. You're listening.
We're coworkers, right? Spanky owes you something. I can rough him up for you.
Okay, right. Yeah, okay. Do that.
Roughing is in order.
No, but anyway, they're amazing, and they've got crazier and crazier. Like, do you know any of the history of how it started? If you don't know, you don't know, but I'll do a research and then maybe we'll do a podcast about it. But what do you know?
Call it #badge life. I can't tell you. I would be lying if I told you I know exactly how it all started, but I know it's a part of our culture, right? It's just like the stickers. We had a sticker wall this year for the first time. It was fantastic. But it's how many badges can you get? You're walking around like Mr. T with all these things and got to the point this year, possibly my heaviest load of badges I've ever had, where I'm trying to hold them and like things are falling off. And like I said, my son was with me. He actually is part of how it would have started with or without him and me, but he was part of the transactions and conversations that ended up occurring to make the first ever car hacking village start, which was a story I could have told if I ran out of content. But so it was cool to have him there 11 years later. And while he was there, he was learning to solder, and he was, putting badges together and stuff. And he was like, "Mom, it's out of control, man. You got to just take some badges off, put them away. Why are you showing off? The badges are falling apart. What are you doing?" But yeah.
And for those that I'm sure most of the folks listening know, but for those that aren't aware, that the badges are powered, so they have a battery and they light up. And as Kirsten is alluding to, you can plug things into them, you can unsolder things, you can solder things, and it's basically a game, right? You're looking to solve a puzzle, typically referred to as capture the flag of some sort, where there's some hidden Easter egg or multiple hidden Easter eggs in there that you're trying to find. Yeah.
So look, I guess over there, of course, he's barking. Oh, that's a lot of badges over there. The car hacking badges in particular they're always functional in one way, shape, or form. Right? They have an ODB, port, and you can plug it. You can plug the car hacking badges typically into your car, and we always have the content on the website
or your neighbor's car.
Or your neighbor's car.
No,
I'm joking.
You can. Oh man, there's some stuff I can't say, but yeah. Well, you know what? The very first badge I don't know where it is. I'm not going to try to get it. It's over there somewhere. But the very first badge at the very first car hacking village, our CTF was called Capture the VIN. So use your imagination what then occurred. So people were using the badge. Yeah.
Mm.
But it's DEF
Well,
CON.
all I can think of, to tell you the truth, is that what can happen if you find a USB drive lying around DEF CON. I'm not putting that anywhere near anything I care about. So, no offense to any badge makers, but I'm not connecting any badge to something else I care about.
Sure. So ultimately, like with this little UDB, I mean, this is ODB. This is no different than going to Jiffy Lube or whatever and putting in the diagnostic thing in or whatever. But
so
our people are don't be afraid. Plug it in. See what happens.
Exactly.
Yeah, well, there's still people that just rent a car,
remove the limiter, and it drives faster. That's perfect.
Yeah, well, it's not a badge, but when you get a rental car and you see how many phones are still connected to that damn thing, and you're like, that's
So
probably gonna do something.
Actually,
better.
like what you said about like deleting a diesel on a. My son calls it rolling coal, like puffing the smoke. But anyway,
nice,
fun stuff. The badges won't hurt you.
They won't hurt you. No, certainly worth. I mean, I love to have a few that I've collected as well. Not hanging behind me, sadly, but I have to say one of my favorites is the wrench from that picture that I showed you.
Yes,
it's pretty good. The shape, what it does.
What about the year that we had? It was an actual autonomous vehicle. Like the car hacking badge was a self-driving car. So I think that might be one of the.
We missed out on that one, Marco. We didn't know the right people at that time.
You are the badge collector. I mean, I can say
I feel terrible.
I can say something about Sean is he collects badges as he tries different kind of food in Singapore, and that's out of control. So if you see a badge, it must have it. If you see like a funny food in Singapore in the style, he's gonna try it.
I'll try anything. Exactly. Collect any badge, any sticker.
You're out of control in Singapore.
Yeah.
Missed that one.
A foodie's dream.
All right. So
yes.
Any more points?
You had me off on the food tangent now, Marco.
I know. I distract you so I can ask.
All right, go for it.
So what do you think about DEF CON as it is now? We said there's a pack of people back to what it was, even more, and yet during the whole 3 years that a lot of stuff was virtual, a lot of people thought it's never gonna go back to what it was, or there's always going to be the virtual side of things, which I'm a fan of for people that cannot make it and spend all the money to go to Vegas or anywhere else. But again, I was in a couple of other conferences. We didn't make it to Vegas. Is it still alive and kicking? People are excited.
It is alive and kicking. It's going to be, I guess, something to notice. I'm already starting to see people taking tests and people testing positive. So that's to be expected. I think the last count I saw, somebody put a counter together, but you can only wonder how many people aren't logging their positive, right? So, so we'll see. It was like 75 people. Out of 30,000 is, I don't even know how many zeros that is after the decimal, but we'll see. We'll see, if it ended up being, a bad idea or not. And people who can't or don't choose, who have different, risk tolerance levels, will be able to see much of the content online. I spoke at B-Sides. I didn't make it to Diana. I barely was kind of just strolling around Black Hat, but not really there. I was in the hallways and going to some corporate things. But it was packed everywhere. I mean, packed everywhere. But DEF CON was just as busy as I've ever seen it.
So, I wasn't even referring much to the positive testing, but to the excitement of people and maybe, for the future of the events. I mean,
There certainly is no loss. There certainly does not seem to be any loss of interest in attending, right? And I'll tell you why, because the content is carefully curated, right? Like they are very selective, and I can't imagine how difficult that is. I can only tell you again from, if you're a village and people are responding to your call for paper, how many, can you select? Because so imagine, again, multiply that in your DEF CON and everybody wants to speak and you have all these panels of people reviewing the content. The content is valuable and rich enough that there's no loss of interest in the attendees, and I don't see that ever happening.
Yeah, and you mentioned Black Hat. I've spoken to a few folks, and they said there are actually a lot of executive level people at that event this year, which is pretty cool.
I saw the interview with Snehal from Horizon.
Yep.
So yeah, I've been trying to notice what y'all are doing, and
Yeah, we've had recorded a lot of podcasts too, but even just in my interactions with the community, I've heard good things about the executive level participation in these, which starts at the top, right?
yeah.
You can do all the research you want, but if no action is taken, usually driven by some form of money or control or power.
I think what you just said is important. I think that it is a good sign of a leader to be present and to be with the people on the ground, right?
Yep.
I went to a conference a couple of months ago in New Orleans, and there was a bunch of executive leaders from big corporations, and they were saying, they were offering different ways that they connect to their people, like go and go see the bathrooms that they're in, go see where are they getting their food, where are they working, sit with them in their meetings. So yeah, I think it's a good sign of the CEOs, like you interviewed Snehal. That's a good sign. It's where I met Tiffany Gates. Be present, be where the people are, be hearing the things that they're hearing and talking to them. So I think it's a very good sign of a leader to be present there.
Yep. Well put. Well put. Well, Kirsten, it's a pleasure to see you again. Sad that we didn't get to connect in person in Vegas, but happy to have you on the show here to talk about your experience and share the things that the things got in the way of.
Yes. It makes the story better, right?
That's
So
right. That's
I
right.
gotta
They
have
they
I
can
gotta
put
have
two and two together now.
embarrassing stories to lead to the next thing. But I intend, so I guess this was like my redemption interview, and I intend to put some thought into, a little bit more thought into how to, when I'm doing all these career coaching things and career development content, to be more thoughtful about how people can use conference attendance to enhance their careers, because it has certainly made my career. Yep.
Cheers to that. That's
Yep.
it's the beginning. Black Hat was the birth of ITSP magazine. That's where it
Oh,
started.
that makes me happy.
So that's
That's awesome.
conference driven.
Wonderful.
Well, it was a while back.
A while back.
How long ago was it?
8 years.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice. I can't even,
Good-
I've been
good
doing
stuff.
this for, I don't know, 15 years, and I don't even remember you not being a part of it.
Oh,
I
Sean
have,
was probably
I've been there as an
way before.
individual for many years.
yeah, but I
We won't say
have no
what
memory of
number in
the
front of the
scene
zero.
that you're not in. Yeah, that's funny.
But I have to say, Kristen, that when you were telling the story about your first attendance and feeling completely like, what the hell am I doing here? I mean, my background has nothing to do with that. I remember the first time I was working with Sean on some marketing for a tech company, a security company, and we went to RSA. That was even before ITSP magazine, and I was like, what the hell am I doing here? I mean, you go to the expo floor and all of that, and then I started going there as somebody that actually is having this conversation and talking about the imposter syndrome.
Oh yeah.
But people were so cool.
Yeah.
never felt like somebody that didn't belong. It was more in my head, but it never really happened. So that's a good advice for everybody. I mean, it's good to be nervous. It's good to be feeling that energy, but DEF CON in particular, everybody is super friendly, despite the fear that everybody has.
The one common denominator that unites all attendees at every level, all the volunteers, all the organizers, and all the attendees, is a passion for teaching and learning.
Yeah.
So the very best thing you can do is not be afraid to not know. People are so attracted to and interested in your curiosity. If you walk over and you say, "What is that?" You just made a friend. You just made a friend. Yeah, for sure.
Yep.
Great note to highlight this one.
I'm still an imposter, but that's the difference.
We all are.
That's right.
In everything we do.
Boy. Well, I'm thrilled. Like I said, I'm thrilled to have you on the show, and I'm hopeful everybody listening gets a chance to meet you at an upcoming DEF CON next year in Las Vegas, and more specifically in the Car Hacking Village. And who knows? Maybe you get another spot on the stage, and they can see you share your insights there with them as well.
Yeah.
So thanks everybody for listening, and for those of you watching, just skip through the part where everybody's making fun of our hair, and then you can keep going because the rest of it's pretty cool.
Everybody being me.
Yeah. I guess my next speaking spot is besides Nova, and then I'm going to Security Congress in Nashville. So
on the road. Very cool. Very cool. We'll include links. You mentioned the video, and I have a couple other links I'll put in the show notes as well for folks who want to see some things. So, all right, everybody, keep well, subscribe, stay tuned, share with your friends. See you somewhere soon.
Thanks, guys.
Bye.
Bye.
We hope you enjoyed this conversation. If you learned something new and this story made you think, then share ITSP Magazine with your friends, family, and colleagues. If you represent a company and wish to associate your brand with our conversations, sponsor one or more of our columns. We hope you will come back for more stories and follow us on our journey. You can always find us at the intersection of technology, cybersecurity, and society.